At age 7, Spartan boys were ripped from their mother's arms and thrown into a brutal training program that would either forge them into legendary warriors or kill them trying. This is the shocking truth about the Agoge, and it's far more extreme than any movie ever showed you. What's up, history lovers? Today we're diving deep into one of history's most extreme military training programs. Forget Navy SEAL training, forget military boot camps. Nothing in the modern world comes close to what Spartan boys endured in the Agoge. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Spartans were feared across the ancient world, and why their society was built on a foundation of systematic brutality. The Agoge didn't start at 7, it started at birth. Every Spartan newborn faced their first test of survival within days of being born. Spartan elders would inspect each baby, looking for any signs of weakness or deformity. If a child didn't meet their standards, they were left to die on Mount Taygetus. But here's what most people don't know. This wasn't just about physical strength. The Spartans believed that only the strongest children could become the warriors they needed to maintain their empire built on enslaved labor. Every Spartan citizen lived in constant fear of a helot uprising, so weakness simply wasn't an option. Those lucky enough to survive this initial culling got to live with their families, but only until age 7. That's when the real nightmare began. Picture this. You're a 7-year-old boy in ancient Sparta. You wake up one morning and strange men arrive at your door. Your mother is crying, but she doesn't stop them as they take you away forever. This wasn't cruelty for cruelty's sake. This was policy. These boys were immediately organized into groups called Agoge, essentially military units of children. They were housed in communal barracks, fed minimal rations, and from day one, taught that their individual needs meant nothing. The state was everything. But the psychological warfare was just beginning. The Agoge wasn't just about creating soldiers. It was about destroying the very concept of childhood and rebuilding these boys as living weapons. Let me paint you a picture of a typical day in the Agoge, because Hollywood got this completely wrong. 5 a.m. Physical conditioning. While most kids their age were playing, Spartan boys were running barefoot across rocky terrain, wrestling and practicing combat moves that would break bones if done incorrectly. Morning. Combat training. They learned to fight with spears, swords, and shields. But here's the twist. They were expected to injure each other. Scars were badges of honor, and boys who couldn't take pain were shamed publicly. Midday. Survival skills. They were taught to steal food, not because stealing was okay, but because getting caught was the real crime. Boys who were discovered stealing were brutally whipped, not for the theft, but for their lack of stealth. Evening. Education. This wasn't reading and writing like we think of it. Spartan education focused on warfare, survival, and absolute obedience to the state. And through it all, they were deliberately underfed. The Spartans believed hunger would make them fierce and resourceful. Many boys died from malnutrition, exposure, or training injuries. This wasn't a bug in the system. It was a feature. But the physical aspect was only half the story. The Agoge was designed to break down individual identity and rebuild these children as extensions of the Spartan war machine. Boys were encouraged to form intense bonds with slightly older mentors. This wasn't about love or care. It was about creating absolute loyalty and obedience within the military hierarchy. They were also forced to participate in the Krypteia, essentially state-sanctioned murder missions against the helot population. Teenage boys would hunt and kill enslaved people to prevent uprisings and prove their worth as future warriors. Think about that for a moment. We're talking about children being turned into killers by the age of 15. After 13 years of this brutality, surviving boys faced their final test at age 20. But graduation from the Agoge wasn't guaranteed, even after surviving everything we've discussed. They had to prove themselves in actual combat, demonstrate absolute loyalty to Sparta, and show they could lead other warriors. Those who failed, they became perioichi, free residents without citizenship rights, second-class citizens in the society they'd sacrificed their childhood to serve. But those who succeeded became Spartiates, full Spartan citizens and professional warriors. They were feared across the ancient world, and with good reason. Here's what most people don't understand about the Agoge. It worked exactly as intended, but not in the way you might think. Yes, it created incredibly disciplined warriors. Yes, those warriors achieved legendary victories like Thermopylae. But the real purpose wasn't just military, it was social control. Sparta had a massive population of enslaved helots, outnumbering citizens by at least 7-1. The Agoge created warriors whose primary job wasn't fighting foreign enemies, but terrorizing their own enslaved population into submission. The brutality of the training created men who could commit systematic violence without question. It was a system designed to maintain one of history's most oppressive societies. So, the next time you see Spartans glorified in movies or hear people praising their discipline and strength, remember what that really meant. The Agoge created effective warriors, but at the cost of their humanity. These weren't heroes. They were child soldiers molded into instruments of state oppression. What do you think? Was the Agoge an effective military program or systematic child abuse? Let me know in the comments below.